Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, text. No, I think we read that one yesterday about Dhritarashtra's blindness. Okay. Text 7. Yada Sabhayam Kuru Deva Devyaha Kesha Abhimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam Na Varayam Asa Nripaha Snushayaha Swashraiha Harant Harantyaha Kuchakun Kumani Yada Sabhayam Kurudeva Devyaha Kesha Bimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam Navarayam Asanripas Nushayaha Swashir Harantya Kuchakun Kumani Yada Sabhayam Kurudeva Devyaha Kesha Bimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam Navarayam Asanripas Nushayaha Swashir Harantya Kuchakun Kumani Yada Sabhayam Kurudeva Devyaha Kesha Bimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam Navarayam Asanripas Nushayaha Svashir Harantya Kuchakun Kumani
Sabhayam Gurudeva Devya
Yada Subhayam Kurudeva Devyaha
Isha Vimarsham Sutakarma Garyam
Kesha Bimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam
Valayamasa Nipasna Shasha
Navarayama Sunirpasnushaya
Asharvantya Kucha Kunkumani
Swashir Harantya Kucha Kunkumani.
Yada Sabayang Kuru Deva Devya Kesha Bimarshang Sutta Karma Garyam Navarayamasa Nipashnu Shahaya Swasrarantya Kucha Kunkumani
Kumani.
Yada Sabayam Kurudeva Devyaha
Yada sabhayam kurudeva devyaha.
Kesha Vimarsham Sutta Karma Garyam
Kesha vimarsham sutta karma garyam.
Navarayamasa Nirpasnushayaha
Navarayam asanirpasnushayaha.
Swasrai Harantya Kucha Kunkumani
Swasher harantya kucha kunkumani.
Yada subhayam kurudeva devyaha
Yada sabhayam kurudeva devyaha.
kesha bimarsham sutta karma garhyam
Kesha bimarsham sutta karma garyam.
navarayam asanprasnushaya
Navarayam asanirpasnushayaha.
swasraya harantya kucha kunkumani
Swasher harantya kucha kunkumani.
Yada subhyayam gurudeva devya
Yada subhayam kurudeva devyaha.
kesha virasham sutta karma garyam
Esha bimarsham sutta karma garyam.
navarayam ashadnipa shnushaya
Navarayam asanirpasnushayaha.
swasrar haranta kucha kunkumani
Swasher harantya kucha kunkumani. Yada, when, Sabhayam, the assembly, Kurudeva Devyaha, of Draupadi, the wife of godly Yudhishthir, Kesha Abhimarsham, insult by grabbing her hair, Sutta Karma, action taken by his son, Garyam, which was abominable, Na, did not, Varayam, Asa, forbid, Nirpaha, the king, Snushayaha, of his daughter-in-law. What's this one? Of his nephew's wife? Well, here it says of his daughter-in-law. Swasrahi, by her tears. Harantyaha, of she who is washing. Kuchakun kumani, red dust on her breast. Translation: the king did not forbid his son Dushashana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of the godly king Yudhishthir, even though her tears washed the red dust on her breast. And the next text, Dute tvadharmena jittasya sadho satyavalambasya vanam gatasya nayachato dat samayena dayam tamo jushano yadajata shatraho. Yudhishthir, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the rightful heir to his father's kingdom, but just to favor his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthir's uncle, adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephews of their rightful share of the kingdom. At last, the Pandavas demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers, but that was also refused by the usurpers. This incident led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus and not the Pandavas. As Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule, and not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Maharaj, would you like to speak on this verse?
Sabayam means the assembly. In other places, that assembly is called Asat Sabayam, the assembly of uncultured men. Because only uncultured men would tolerate a chaste woman being insulted. In such an ignominious way, dragged into the assembly and unfairly, unjustifiably criticized. So, and the son here is Mushashana. He was the second oldest son of Dhritarashtra. The oldest son was Yodhana, and the next son was Shasana. So he took the responsibility of, he was ordered. It's a long story, but the Yodhana was especially envious of Pandavas because Arjuna, especially, because when Draupadi was given the opportunity to perform her own called the Sayamvara, choose the woman when the princess is given a chance to select her own husband rather than the parents or some other way. This is called Sayamvara. So her father had very intelligently decided on a test so that her daughter would be given to only the best person, most qualified Kshatriya in the world. And the test was arranged that whoever could shoot the eye of a fish that was placed up at the top of the arena, and he couldn't look directly at the fish, had to look down and see the fish in the reflection of water on the ground and look up. And also there was a wheel turning, so it had to go not only the eye of the fish, but it had to not be affected by the wheel turning and had to look up. So at that time, it was considered that the Pandavas were dead. And it was suspected that everyone thought they had died in the burning of the house of lacquer. And because there was evidence, even as mentioned before, there was a lady there, an uncultured lady with 5 sons, and they had drunk a lot because they were having a big party the night before. And they had drunk a lot and they were intoxicated. And they just fell asleep right there inside the house, the palace. And it was not known to Pandavas about them. So they had no idea that such a thing, that there was a lady and she had 5 sons. Anyway, they were burned up. The woman and her 5 sons were burned up. And everyone took it those were the Pandavas, because their mother was with them. This was a plan by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana to finish off the Pandavas and their mother also. You heard her too. So this was a plan. Get them all burned in the fire, and it seemed like it was an accident. But Varnavata, chose this place for a holiday. It was like supposed to be a holiday place where they would go, Yudhishthira and all the 4 brothers and his mother would go there, and they would just have a good time. And all the people would worship them because they were the great Pandavas. And it was supposed to be a wonderful opportunity to get the family all nice. Good feelings. Kurus, Yodhana came up with this nice plan how to make amends with his cousin brother. So after that event, and no one knew that the Pandavas were still living, because they had escaped through the tunnel. And only Vidura knew, and Krishna, of course, knew, but others didn't know. So then it was time for King Drupad to get his wife. She was the most beautiful woman in the world. And so whoever got her to marry them would be considered the topmost. She was the greatest jewel. Not only that, she was born different. She was born from the fire. She wasn't born by a mother's womb. She came out of the fire. And it was said that she'll be the cause of a lot of fighting, everyone wanted her as their wife. And Kshatriyas, they think that they're the best. And each one was completely convinced that Draupadi should be his wife, and his wife only. So all the great princes and kings were invited to the Svayambara marriage ceremony to be held in the kingdom of Drupad. They all went there. Even Krishna and Balaram went there, not to compete, but just to see. So none of the Kshatriyas could hit the target and win her. There was only one person who was there who might have been able to do it, and that was Karna. But Draupadi, very cleverly, she made a statement at the time when Karna was about to be, he was already selected, it was his turn to try. She said, no, I'll only accept someone who's born not in a Shudra family. No Shudras can take part. I can marry a Shudra. And Karna, although his qualities were so great that it was obvious he wasn't a Shudra, but it was thought that he had taken birth from a, and sometimes it's carpenter, sometimes it says charioteer. either way, it's not a Kshatriya family. So she said he's not allowed. Anyone who doesn't take birth from that type of family cannot compete. So Karna is not allowed to compete. And the other Kshatriyas couldn't win her. So then at the end of the whole thing, everyone was wondering what's going to happen. And it was asked, can Brahmins also compete? Brahmins? All right. I'm going to try. You're full of yourself. Because Brahmins were not known for being able to shoot arrows. Although there was some example, Drona, Acharya, and Kripacharya, they were both Brahmins, but they were great warriors also. So they were given a chance. This one Brahmin, he came forward. It was Arjuna in disguise. He didn't look like Arjuna. He had beard and he wore the hair of a Brahmin. He dressed as a Brahmin. Everyone thought he was dead anyway, but so they were expert in disguise. So he shot and he hit the fish right in the right place. And everyone was astounded. She came immediately. She had the garland ready to garland the winner. He was now going to be her husband. She was happy. Of course, she wanted Arjuna, and her father wanted Arjuna. They thought Arjuna was dead, but they thought maybe they're not dead. Maybe he's not dead. So they gave the opportunity. They thought maybe somehow Arjuna will find out about this flying bar. He found out from Vyasadeva. Because when they were staying in Ekachakra, they were staying with some Brahmins in Ekachakra to keep out of the public eye, so no one would know that they were living. They hadn't decided yet exactly what their next steps would be. So Vyasadeva said, you should compete, should go there and try to win Draupadi. So that was, and he won, and then she put the garland on, and they started leaving. But it is not so easy. When there's a big gathering like that, so many Kshatriyas, and there's some competition, and a Brahmin wins and insults all the Kshatriyas in the whole world, they were angry and they attacked. All the Kshatriyas attacked. But Bhima was there also, in disguise, another big Brahmin. And he began fighting. He and Arjuna began fighting. They defeated all of them. And Krishna told Balaram that they were together. Krishna said, do you see those sitting over there, those Brahmins? He said, I don't think they're Brahmins. I think that's Arjuna. I think those are the Pandavas. And Balaram, yeah. They knew. And they got away, and they went back to Ekachakra. And Kunti didn't go to the sacrifice. She stayed in where they were at the house, and she was taking care of cooking and different household things. So when they came back, Yudhishthira said, see the jewel that Arjuna has brought back from his begging. And she said, whatever it is, without looking, she said, whatever it is, share it evenly amongst you 5 brothers. So everyone was looking at each other. How can you share one woman with 5 brothers? And then when she found out that the Jew is a woman, she said, I didn't know that. He didn't say it was that he wanted a wife. I thought it was just some donation. So then I said, but I've never told anything untrue. So I cannot speak a non-truth. So they decided it was a big dilemma what to do. They never not expect that they would marry five, that one woman would marry five husbands. It was common that one husband would marry five wives or more, but not this way around. So it was a big debate, big discussion. Finally, with the help of Brahmanas, like Vyasadeva and others, it was explained that this was ordained and it was a plan of the Lord. And even in her previous life, Draupadi she had worshipped Lord Shiva adamantly, so strongly that she get a good husband. She wanted the best husband. 5 times she asked. And so Shiva said, all right, because you've asked 5 times for the best husband, you'll get 5 husbands in your next life. That was her benediction. So this story is there, and Duryodhana was furious when he found out it was the Pandavas. It was the worst thing. Like, when a person says, this is the worst day of my life, I had people say that too. I made a phone call to someone one time, and he said, this is the worst day of my life. I had asked for the person, and evidently he wasn't known that he was connected with the Krishna consciousness. Anyway, he said, it's the worst day of my life. So I felt bad. So Duryodhana thought this was the worst day of his life when he found out that not only did he lose Draupadi, not only were they defeated by this Brahmin, then it turns out the Brahmins, Arjuna and the Pandavas were still alive. And now they've got Draupadi. And now they've made an alliance with the very powerful King Draupadi and his son, Dhৃഷ്ടadhyumna, who was destined to kill. So it's a long story, but this insult that took place in the Sabayam was unforgivable.
Thank you, Maharaj. Om Gyana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Shapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakara Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Hrijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Danavirga Swamini Tinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Disatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Taraham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Vagisha Yashavadane Lakshmir Yasha Chavakshasi Yasyaste Hriday Samvitam Nirsimham Aham Bhaje. It was mentioned in the translation how Yudhishthir Maharaj, because he had taken a vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. So, like we heard about Mother Kunti Devi, she also, none of her words were ever untrue. And Yudhishthir Maharaj, he also never spoke a lie in his life. He strictly adhered to Dharma. So during the battle of Kurukshetra, these were in the last days of the war. Dronacharya was fighting as if possessed. He was just no stopping. He was using celestial weapons, every kind of weapon. He was killing thousands of soldiers at one time, even tens of thousands. And if you look in the Mahabharata, it explains the amount of time that he was just, plowing through these soldiers. And if you actually look up the amount of soldiers and the amount of time, it's pretty crazy. I was trying to get an idea of how many soldiers this was. It's like tens of thousands. And I was looking at pictures that would show different amounts of people, and they were showing different football stadiums. Like this one has 10,000, this one has 20,000, this one has 30, this one has 50, this one has 100. So it's like if you imagine some of these biggest stadiums that there are in the country, somehow or other, with the power of this person, Dronacharya, he's clearing out whole sections of these giant stadiums within minutes. So it's incomprehensible. I mean, I can't imagine it, but they have all sorts of special weapons through mantras and expert skill with their bows and arrows. So Dronacharya was clearing out whole crowds of soldiers and elephants and everyone. If he was continuing at that rate, he would have destroyed the whole army of the Pandavas. So Krishna gave Yudhishthir Maharaj an instruction that the only way that the only way that Dronacharya would be stopped is if he hears some very bad news, and then he would drop his weapons. It's the only thing that could stop him. So Krishna told Yudhishthir Maharaj to call out that Ashvatthama. Actually, he told all of the Pandavas, but specifically instructed Yudhishthir Maharaj to say that Ashvatthama is dead, the son of Dronacharya. And so Bhima immediately took up this instruction, and he starts. It seems like anything in front of Bhima just evaporates when you're reading the Mahabharata. So he starts just charging through, elephants, soldiers, chariots, and he makes his way to where Dronacharya is, and he calls out that Ashvatthama is dead, but he didn't have his whole heart in it, so it was a little bit off when he said it. And at the same time, Dronacharya knew that this Bhima, he's kind of a wily character, so I don't know that I can actually trust what he said. So at first he was shocked, then he thought this is probably not true, so he continued just destroying the armies relentlessly. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was wondering, how can I tell a lie? Because he's never told a lie before, ever. And he's also known for that. So he hesitated, but then he said it anyways. Once Dronacharya was coming, if Yudhishthir Maharaj said it, then Dronacharya would know it's a fact, because whatever Yudhishthir Maharaj says is the truth. And so he called out, Ashvatthama, and just previous to him calling this out, they had someone go and kill the elephant named Ashvatthama so that this would work out. Krishna made this concession. He said, okay, there's the elephant Ashvatthama, you can kill him and then you won't be lying. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he called out that Ashvatthama has died, and Dronacharya heard it, and then under his breath, so no one could hear it, he said the elephant. So like this, Dronacharya, he knew Yudhishthir Maharaj has said it, it must be true, and he dropped his weapons and stopped fighting. And after that, Yudhishthir Maharaj, his chariot, it was always never touching the ground. Like we hear when the demigods come to the earth, their feet, they don't touch the earth. So Yudhishthir Maharaj's chariot, it never touched the ground. He had this sort of boon or benediction. But after this time, his chariot would roll on the ground. And it was thought previously that, okay, this is because Yudhishthira Maharaj, he broke that vow. He told a lie. He broke his vow of truthfulness. Now his chariot's touching the ground. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revealed that his chariot touched the ground not because he told a lie, but actually because he hesitated to surrender to the order of Krishna. So that's one more point from the Mahabharata. Yeah, the Pandavas, they at last, after this whole thing, they were always trying to do the right thing. And at last they demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers. And Duryodhana, he was really had this problem of being extremely envious. He was so envious of the Pandavas that even though so many plans were presented to him, so many good instructions were given to him, even different kinds of like compromises were made with his desires. But still, he wouldn't accept any of these other ideas because he was simply just extremely envious of the Pandavas. He just wanted to see that they suffered at any cost. So they demanded only 5 villages, and Duryodhana said, "I won't give them enough land to drive the pin of a pin through." And they're Kshatriyas, so they have to actually have some land to rule. Like Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Like Prabhupada explains in many lectures, if a Brahmana can't accept some sort of service that's like that's the work of a Shudra. They accept some sort of work under some employer. I was reading this morning, the Draupadi was in the Krishna book. She's speaking to the queens of Krishna, all of the devotees, all of Krishna's associates, they gathered at Kurukshetra. And she was speaking to the queens of Krishna and asking them how it is that they got Krishna as their husband. And Draupadi, as we were hearing, she has 5 husbands, and Krishna has 16,108 wives. So there were some interesting topics for discussion. And she was asking how they got Krishna as their husband, and they were all explaining. One of them was similar to how Arjuna won Draupadi with this whole fish bow and arrow situation hanging from the ceiling. There was a similar situation where Krishna won one of the queens this way. But in this part of the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada was explaining, actually it was just after this conversation with the queens, which was really interesting because all of these queens, they went through such great challenges and such great struggles to get the very best thing, to get Krishna. Like one of them is saying, who's that? Satyabhama. So first, my father, he was accusing Krishna of stealing this very valuable jewel, the Shaimantaka jewel, and it caused a whole uproar in the city. So then Krishna, he went out into the forest. He found that Jambavan had the jewel, got in this whole fight with Jambavan, brought it back just to, he brought it back to my father, and my father gave me as his queen. And then Jambavati was saying, Krishna, he was fighting my father Jambavan for 27 days. And then Jambavan, the king of the rickshaws, realized that this is his lord Ramachandra. It's the same person, Krishna, because no one else would be able to defeat him. And then he surrendered unto him and gave me as his queen. And then Rukmini, she was explaining how it was known to all the kings and all the princes that she would be married to Shishupal, who's just completely envious of Krishna. She would just be hearing blasphemy of Krishna all the time. But then at the last moment, Krishna, he steals her away from all of the princes, just like a lion takes away a lamb from the flock. So many of them are describing another one, Rohini. She was the representative for the 16,000 who were trapped by Banasura? Bomasura, who was trapped by, they were all trapped by Bomasura and imprisoned by this great demon, and Krishna saved them all. So like this, they all went through these crazy ordeals and things that seem like reverses in life. But actually, from those reverses, it was the perfect time to fully take shelter of Krishna and surrender to Krishna. And then what did they say? They all said, they weren't saying, now I've got this high position, I'm one of the most famous queens and everyone speaks about me for eternity. But no, they're saying all of these things happened, and then Krishna saved me. He was my only shelter, and he accepted me as his maidservant. And they're so happy to be in this position of the servant of Krishna. And this is the eternal position of the living entities, is das anudas, the servant of the servant of the servant of the servants of Krishna. So that part is nice to hear about, because we can see even in these great challenges, there are actually great opportunities to take shelter of Krishna. Like Queen Kunti prays for more reverses and more challenges and more dangers, because at this time we can see you, and then we no longer actually face the danger of repeated birth and death. We can remember you, Krishna. And in that, just after the whole thing with the queens, there's a really amazing part where the sages are speaking to Vasudeva, and Srila Prabhupada was explaining that all these things, all these material opulences in one's life, such as nice home, nice wife, nice children, nice possessions, all of these things are distractions from the goal of life, he was explaining. But one can use all of their material opulences and all of the money that they're accumulating through their work in the service of Lord Vishnu. And then that's the perfection of all of their life. All of these things that we are in contact with in our day-to-day life and the situations that we're in. If we use the fruit of our labor, everyone's working hard throughout the day. And if the fruit of that labor is used for the service of Krishna, then that's the perfection of one's life. That's what Vasudeva was asking the sages. He was taking the position of like a normal human being, even though he's such an exalted person. And this is what's so amazing when the sages are meeting with him. The sages are all about to leave. It's Narada, Vashishta, Vishwamritra, the four Kumaras, Gotama, all the sages that you hear about in the Bhagavatam, they're all there, most exalted souls. And they wanted to see Krishna. And after hearing from Krishna, they're about to leave. And then Vasudeva comes and he pays obeisances to them. And just like an ordinary person, he begs from them, can you please tell me, what is the supreme fruitive activity that will eliminate the reactions to all other fruitive activities? And so in this kind of bewildering situation, because now the parent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is asking something from us, even though he has the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead all the time. So Narada Muni, he steps forward and he explains the situation to all the sages that here's Vasudeva, and under Krishna's Yoga Maya, even though he has the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he's asking us for advice, even though there's no one else to go to for advice when Krishna's there. So then to do their duty and serve him, they answered it anyways after Narada Muni explained the situation. And so this is what Narada Muni said is the supreme activity that one can do, the supreme fruitive activity one can do that disentangles one from all other fruitive results and activities and desires, material desires and entanglements in this world, is to engage in sacrifice or yajna for Vishnu. And it was explained one can give all of their wealth that they're working hard to earn for Vishnu, and that's perfect. And then at the end of the chapter, Srila Prabhupada said that there's all these different processes of sacrifice in the Vedas, and all of them are very difficult, and many are actually impossible in this day and age. But the prime benediction of this day and age, the main sacrifice, is the Sankirtan Yajna that Lord Chaitanya has come to give. So the supreme activity that one can do to eradicate all material desires and reactions to other activities is the Sankirtan Yajna. Harinam, book distribution, prasadam distribution, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita sets into the homes of all the gentlemen of the world, like Srila Prabhupada wanted. So there's nothing better to do. It's the supremost activity. And sometimes we might be disturbed that, but I still have all these material desires and things. But read this really amazing quote from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that explains how we should just keep going on with this Sankirtan Yagya, even though we may have some material desires and disturbances. So I'll read that and then I can end it there. This is a letter from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I have received your missive dated Padmanabha 5. Due to lack of time, I feared writing an extended letter. Yet I see how the delay prolongs. So now I write in brief. I was very happy to learn that you have come to understand that everything is auspicious when Krishna's holy name is chanted with perseverance. When material thoughts come while you are chanting the holy name, do not become slack in your chanting. Gradually, as a secondary effect of uttering the name, such useless thoughts will naturally be removed. You do not have to be occupied with that. The result cannot be achieved in the very beginning. With the rise of great pleasure in chanting Krishna's name, the lure of mundane thoughts will diminish. How will materialistic consciousness depart but by eager acceptance of the holy name? If one serves Sri Nama with body, mind, and words, then Sri Nami will reveal his all auspicious form. So what else will work other than this Sankirtan Yagya? These books are written kirtan. So by chanting the holy name and by distributing the books of Srila Prabhupada, we and all others become washed of all material desires. It's the supreme activity to do that reverses the effects of all the other entangling activities that have kept the living entities in this material world for so long. So we can go on doing that with full enthusiasm because, like he said, what else is there to do? What else will work? What else will actually clear away the material desires of living entities that keep them here? Okay, so I went 7 minutes over the time, so I'll end it. Srimad Bhagavat, oh, yes, Krishna Shravana Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you for a great Srimad Bhagavatam class. Srimati Kunti Devi taught us that calamity is a favorable situation for executing devotional service. So should we follow in the footsteps of Kunti Devi and pray for calamities so that we can remember Krishna?
We can, because all of these prayers are there, and that's a great way to pray to the Supreme Lord is by praying these prayers of his pure devotees that we see in the cream of all Vedas, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But I did ask His Holiness Dhanavir Goswami one time. He was saying, who should we pray to right now? And I said, Queen Kunti, and he said, oh no, we think we've had enough calamities for some time, something like this. And then he recommended that I pray to Narada Muni, because Narada Muni is making devotees all over the universe. So if we want to do some nice preaching and make many devotees, we can see Narada Muni is very expert at that. So expert that he was even cursed, actually, that he couldn't stay in one place for too long. And Srila Prabhupada said he got the same curse from the parents of his disciples. So now he's passing that on to his sannyasis and his disciples, that they get the curse to not stay in one place for too long, to continue preaching throughout the world and making devotees. So we can pray like that in the prayers of the previous acharyas and pure devotees. Thank you for the question. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.